I'm recognizing that these are potential thoughts I have. They're there because otherwise I wouldn't have spoken about them. But I recognize that, wow, I have a belief I'm not enough due to the social media response. I'm not feeling enough because it's not how it used to be for me. But that's not a truth. Truth would be more like this. This is a process I go through. This is something similar in my book. If I was feeling good anyway, how would I feel about these things? If I was living my fullest life and being authentic, really the things I like to do, would I be paying attention to social media and people who don't know me? How much have I been really doing the things that I enjoy?
Welcome to All Things Menopausal. My name is Mary, and I'm a menopause doula. As a doula, we augment the healthcare profession as menopause support practitioners. I created this podcast, All Things Menopausal, to build community for women going through menopause transition and to foster resilience through the stories that connect, educate, and empower. These stories are real, raw, relatable, and they're very much relevant to the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual whole person that we are. In our midlife transition, we are not alone. Each week, you will hear from courageous, vulnerable, and knowledgeable guests sharing their passion, their journey, and lived experience. These are little clues to finding solutions to our unique situation. The menopause symptoms are personal, but the experience is universal. Welcome back, my listeners. Today, we are talking with Dr. Ray Doktor. Dr. Ray has been a life and relationship coach since 1993, assisting more than 6,000 clients to transcend limiting beliefs and face life's hurdles, enhancing their confidence, self-trust, and happiness for better individual and family well-being. He holds a doctorate in clinical psychology, a master's in counseling psychology, and a bachelor's in human behavior. Ray's unique and powerful approach to coaching blends his expertise with techniques such as hypnotherapy, EMDR, NLP, and ancient practices such as Qigong and meditation to offer a holistic approach to mental health. Beyond his professional life, Dr. Ray, a true multi-passionate, enjoys fatherhood, music, gardening, sports, and outdoor adventures. And yes, Doctor truly is his last name. In our conversation today, we're going to talk about his background and what led him to clinical psychology and counseling. We're also going to talk about the advice he'd give to menopausal women when they're seeking coaching or therapy to improve their relationships, hidden beliefs, mental health, and so much more. And more importantly, we're going to give a shout out to Dr. Ray's new book coming up, which is called All It Takes Is One. It is a book that is a beacon of hope tailored for anyone navigating the challenging polarization experienced in our modern culture. And in a world that's overwhelmed by endless experts and conflicting advice, this book offers you a simple, proven roadmap to identify and release your deepest hidden beliefs and to restore your trust in yourself and to bring about healing to your relationships. You can find his book at allittakesisonebook.com. I'll put that in the show notes as well as the other links to find Dr. Ray. This is going to be so impactful, so much to cover. So let's just dive right in. Good morning, Dr. Ray. Thank you for being on our show, All Things Menopausal. You're going to bring to us a delightful conversation around, well, many topics. I don't want to get into it. I want you to unpack it all.
I wonder if already people are going to, what's he going to share on this topic? Is he going through this also? Is there a new, menopause for men, which there is, andropause, but we're going to talk about specifically your stuff and offer some value.
Yeah, well, I was particularly drawn to the idea around the relationship piece. And of course, you're a therapist counseling in relationships. And the marriage goes through menopause too. And not always will relationships survive menopause, unfortunately. because so much comes up. And I talk about this over and over again, but it bears repeating, and my listeners know it well. Ayurvedic philosophy says that menopause is the time of the great reveal. So if you haven't been dealing with things in the past, be it past trauma or an illness, it's going to come to the forefront. And so I think the work that you're doing in this field, in psychology and counseling, EMDR, that is fantastic. So let's just get right into it. But before that, I always like to ask, what is your backstory? What got you into the field of psychology and human behavior in the first place?
Well, I had two near-death experiences, one when I was 6 years old and another when I was 15 years old, or no, 16. And that was probably the true opening of that. There's got to be much more than this matrix that we call 3D reality, because I definitely went through the veil, and you know, the veil was lifted, and where I kind of saw that it was much more than this flesh here. So that was part of it. But still, I struggled with trying to be like what I thought society wanted me to be, to where I would compare myself to others, and that was where my self-worth was. And with that, it would allow me to attract the woman of my dreams, or the career that would give me pseudo respect. And I just kept hitting, my invisible wall. And that led to me getting a DUI, driving under an influence, and seeing a therapist. And that kind of opened up the door to my anger issues, to other things I had not been dealing with in my life, which you just brought up in the beginning of this share. And that's when I started really looking at myself and seeing myself as the problem. And then while I guess moving through my own shit, what ended up happening was that I became attracted to this work. And that led to me being trained underneath Dr. Morris Netherton, who's no longer with us. He was the gentleman who trained Tony Robbins teachers. He used to teach the Church on Rose in Venice, like in the 70s or late 60s and 70s. And I worked with him as an apprentice, and he took me around the world. We worked with psychologists, psychiatrists, therapists, just people in the healing arts. And then after developing that skill set, I went back to school. But that's kind of how my journey began, pretty much just, hit my own wall, like all of us do, and getting support and seeing the benefits, and then getting excited about, the changes in my life. And many people do that. A lot of times, this too, that people will feel good and they start sharing it with family members, but more often it's rejected. I probably bought 50 copies of You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, but no one read them. But I noticed that, there are people out there who are seeking help. And I just allow those people to become my clients, not my family members.
Yeah. Well, let's talk specifically about the help that you do give to your clients. And it's not just men, although let's get into that as well, but it's couples and what they're going through. So take us through what you're seeing, certainly with the midlife, to focus on our menopause audience, and what kind of trauma, if you will, or pain are your clients bringing to you that you help them unpack?
Well, currently, my girlfriend is 51 years old, and I turned 55 this year, and she turns 52. And for the first time, both of us are experiencing changes in our bodies with our hormones and everything. One thing we also realize is that, lifestyle, such as staying up late, not getting sleep, too much coffee, too much alcohol, to not dealing with our emotions, have also led to, say, these moments. So sometimes I think that this pause is for us to reflect. And so both of us have gone through this, and it's where she has had thoughts like this, which I know many of your listeners do as well. And that is, will he find me attractive? Why am I not feeling this fire in my, in my lower area? And why am I not feeling flirtatious? Why am I not how I was before? There's this attractive woman that walked by. Is he aroused by her? To What's wrong with me? Is this normal? Will this change? I'm feeling stupid right now because I'm not clear. I feel foggy. I'm forgetting information. I'm feeling stupid. I'm more vulnerable. I don't want to come off as needy or that like I'm dumb now. I wasn't like this before. Will this relationship last? Is he satisfied with me? Those are some of the thoughts that have come from my girlfriend who actually coaches women and has been coaching for 20 years. This is someone who's done the work. Now, the reason why I was able to say those statements, those say beliefs from the ego, is because I'm hearing them literally. And the difference is this, is that when her and I talk, it's not like where she's projecting onto me, you're just going to find another woman, or it's more that these are thoughts that come to mind. But we have that healthy container for her to share that with me for my I statement. And it doesn't mean I have to fix it, doesn't mean I have to do anything about it. It's just more for her to release that, and then we just make love to that, whether it's literal or just still connecting to that. Because I have my thoughts also. When I first moved to Ashland, Oregon, well, my dick wasn't working that well. And I'm healthy. I mean, I had my testosterone levels are pretty fucking high. It was that I just buried my father. I sold our family home at 50 years. I was moving my son and I to a new area. There was so much fear about the unknown, but also excitement. I also physically was injured, where from going up and down the stairs to whatever else, I literally physically kept hurting myself. In fact, I had hairline fracture, like my ribs. I remember trying to have sex, and it was like doing a plank because I couldn't lay on my ribs. And we both just started laughing, and I said, "Is this how old people fuck?" So, because she's like, are you enjoying this? Are you in pain? And, and of course, like all of us have gotten trolley. How about when we get trolley horses?
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. And then we right away, why do we go to, oh my God, am I getting old? No, you just have a trolley horse. Maybe you need a uptake, your, I don't know, maybe the magnesium or something.
Just shot of magnesium,
You know what I
right?
mean? It's not a big deal, it's like, might be a little bit too much lactic acid in our muscles or something like that. But the point is that even that, so we have a lighter approach about it because I'm going through it also. And sure enough, I tried the Cialis. By the way, I eat organically. I exercise. I do all the right things. I do not take any Western meds. And so I broke a little piece off and I took it, and of course it helped, but like my head hurt.
Oh, my
I said,
goodness.
this is, I was literally seeing blue,
Oh, wow.
and so that didn't work. But about 3 months into that, when things started settling in, everything started working again.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So it was a moment of time. But this is kind of the container in which we talk about these things. And so these are these collective narratives that both men and women go through. And we compare ourselves of how we were once before. And even if we don't talk about it, it might be unconscious. And until we deal with it, they are still there. So whatever feelings came out of Nicole, my girlfriend, were also thoughts that she had not healed about herself, because at the end of the day, if she really felt absolute self-worth, she probably wouldn't have said those things.
Right.
But it was so here she's a coach. She doesn't deal with jealousy issues. She doesn't deal with a lot of stuff she maybe dealt with in high school and college. But as a woman in her 50s, she's going, oh, these are a new set of beliefs that collectively, like myself and others, we're still moving through. And what a beautiful thing. We're not alone.
Yes, we're not alone. You gave so much there. First of all, my husband's going to love your story. He will absolutely love what you have to say. And I'm going to force him to listen to this podcast episode. Actually, he's my biggest supporter, my biggest fan. He listens to all my episodes. But this one, I think is really going to hit a home run, because we eat healthy, we maintain healthy lifestyles, we're active. But we have that same damn narrative in our heads all the time. You look in the mirror and you go, oof, where'd that come from? a little extra this, a little bit more of that. And then we actually start comparing our own selves, maybe with not that sexy hot girl who's walking down the street, or maybe, but who we were when we first met our partner, when we were young and vivacious and beautiful. I know that's what's going on in our heads in here. So let's talk about the healing journey. How do you help the couples or the individual tackle this hurdle and move through it?
Well, the first step, and which is also in my book, is a both personal and cultural and collective healing. And what that means is this. So it's one thing to say, okay, I need to practice self-love. I need to move into a space of acceptance. But this could be equivalent to going into a yoga studio, sweating a little bit, so that's going to make you feel good, and having yourself become more open and have positive thoughts, but you haven't changed your life map. You haven't stopped hanging out with the toxic people, and you're still being influenced by other people's opinions. So you go out in the world and then you take on this negativity again, and then you go back in the yoga studio to work it out because it's not embodied. You don't have a new life map. So when I talk about a cultural and collective and personal healing, it's making sense of why am I feeling this way, to how do I want to feel, to what is my true relationship to my sexuality, like my own, not my pain body, not what my parents demonstrated, not with what my culture, how they view it, but what does it mean to me? So many of us are in relationships based off of what we come to know. So if we don't have a healthy relationship just with how we physically look, meaning like we think we're overweight, or you might not like your breast, or you think you have flab underneath your triceps, then the not having sexual drive is going to exacerbate that kind of self-hate or judgments about yourself anyway. So it's becoming very clear with who am I beyond like my physical body? What does that mean to me? Why do I exist anyway? How am I contributing in positive ways, regardless of if I'm able to have sex with my partner or not? How do I glow every day and love out loud, regardless of the changes of my body and how I look? And so if you can honestly say, I always was checking the scale when I was a teenager. When I was in college, I did as well. And here I'm now in my 40s, 50s, and 60s. I guarantee that it's not just because it's due to menopause. It's because you haven't discovered who you really are, the authentic, true self. So that is the first step. It's like clearing out all the garbage and influence you have had, including collective impressions of what a woman's body is supposed to look like and be, such as women are still bombarded by makeup companies. And therefore, you see how you are supposed to look. Rarely will you see billboards or advertisement. I see it now more and more, and it's like buff guys in their 50s with, they look like the silver foxes working out. That's what I'm seeing now. Like, oh, I can be buff in my 50s, or I can look this certain way. But for the most part, I don't remember so much it being where you were seeing a constant bombardment with guys with six packs, or this is the way you need to look for a woman to be attracted to you. But what we men got was the wealthy man. We got the James Bond. We got the person driving a sports car, or who had influence, even if he were like a gangster, and somehow he got the woman and pseudo respect. And so many men, that was our trajectory. Like and many men who say are not with a woman that they love or they're attracted to, or they are single, a lot of them are blaming it on, I didn't make it. I wasn't successful. I'm not worthy enough. And these are generalizations, and many women are maybe looking at it more about their parents, their youth, and so forth. I mean, it's bigger than that, but that's just an example. So I claimed bankruptcy when I was 26 years old. I had two sports cars. I was making good money, but it wasn't enough. I started renting from some place that was too high. Like I did all of that and I just wiped it all out. I actually went through my dark night of the soul just in that moment. Went through many more, but that was where I did my clearing also. But what's interesting is that when I was 27 or 28, I ended up like in debt, like $50,000 again, because I had not healed my relationship with money and healed my relationship with self-worth. So I embarked in a new endeavor, which I put myself in debt again because I did not heal the inner problem. But but that was kind of like my start or me finally recognizing like, wait a minute, I'm competing with something that's not the reality I prefer. I'm I'm part of this matrix or this story that isn't real for it's less than 1% of the population that even achieves that, and nor are they really happy. So that's the first step, which is in my book. I have this part where it's called the 11 influencers. And all of us go through every one of these experiences. And then there's 5 questions that they ask themselves of what does this mean to me? Like, what is my why to be in a relationship? Such as even this. There could be women watching this and going, this is really crappy right now. My husband's not happy with me, to I don't feel good about myself. And what's interesting about this, isn't that a relationship? Relating. While it might be your partner, whatever they reflect back and triggers in you is there anyway. So the relationship to be this fairy tale and always be good, or as a relationship to be kind of like a feedback loop for you to grow. And if you can find a partner that you can communicate well with, then you have a really good relationship if you're not having sex. However, that's what it reveals also, which you brought up. If you don't have a partner who can hold space for you, and that's the negativity that's getting kicked up, you're not really in a relationship. You're just in a relationship with yourself. And this person is just a form of resistance to experience more of who you really are.
Ah, my goodness. Holy cow. Yeah, so much. I love what you spoke about, the resistance, what we resist keeps persisting, and that life keeps sending us this opportunity to learn that lesson. And once we move past the lesson, it's like, okay, I figured it out and I'm so much better. I'm so much more my authentic self. And we've heard the greats talk about this, like Dr. Joe Dispenza and Oprah Winfrey. And you're just bringing it into the forefront of realities, like all of those great messages we're hearing, it's totally applicable to us moving through the midlife. I'm so excited for your book.
Did that make sense? Of kind of like, because it's first peeling that, and the reason why I use the yoga analogy, because a lot of people you do yoga or simple, it's great for you. However, you still need to do the inner work, in that you're all, for example, too. I'm a total like meat and potato type of guy. I love to hit the weights, okay? And I have injured myself. In fact, I'll just show. I got this collarbone. I fractured. That was popped out, never healed correctly.
I can see the popped up collarbone.
We call it my unicorn horn. But the point is that I can't bench press the same way I used to. So I only could do with dumbbells because something was throwing it off. Point is, I kept re-injuring myself because I didn't take the time what my physical therapist was telling me to do. I kept hurting myself. So until you get clear with who you are and the healthy relationship with yourself, you will hurt yourself in relationships.
Yeah.
If you don't have a healthy relationship with yourself, you'll hurt yourself when you get, say, bad news from the doctor versus it being just feedback for you to work on some stuff. You just can't run out there quickly. It's where you kind of have to sit with yourself a little bit and take pause and reflect.
So good. So this reminds me of so much of, some of my issues, and I'm sure my listeners, because I think like my listeners, and my pain points are their pain points. For me, I found I went through a pattern of perfectionism because, and as joking and lighthearted as my mother's intentions were, a child can't understand the difference, can't discern between sarcasm and wit. And was truly meaningful words or just callous and hurtful. So we always had this like joke in our family. Oh, you got 96% on the test. What happened to the other 4%? And what I started to realize is that was the language, that was the narrative that's going through my head, was that I'm not good enough until I'm here. And we're chasing here, but the bar keeps going higher. And we keep chasing it, and the bar keeps going higher. And I found that in my pattern of perfectionism, this was a coping mechanism. My perfectionism was total coping mechanism. And now I'm in the menopause transition, it's so much to the forefront, because I'm starting to see, because this is what happens when the hormones start egressing, fluctuating. That veil comes off, and la voila, the true essence of who we are and are supposed to be moving forward is revealed to us. So we have to deal with all those issues. But it's like the lesson keeps coming back and that pain keeps coming back. So how do you help individuals embrace that authenticity, the person that they're supposed to be through this transformation period? And you talked about that, but we're still faced with the societal construct, that stigma that says aging and everything associated with aging is negative, when we're facts, but it's supposed to be natural and normal because we're all going through it. And we don't go through it like that beautiful, like that 1%, or the people on Instagram that keep showing that their beautiful physique. And we know that that's not real, but we keep measuring up. So let's talk about that embracing thing a little bit more.
I'll just take everyone through a little process, and I can use like a personal story, okay? Like to actually witness in real time. So I moved to a small town of 22,000 people, and I used to be in Santa Monica. And there I felt more significant because people were more interested in my work, my talks, and everything else. And from the collective energy of, say, Los Angeles, there's this idea of more and more. There's this fast energy, and it's very fiery. Whereas I moved to kind of a more sleepy town. And therefore, there was a part of me feeling like, oh, like I'm out of the excitement to I'm kind of going into semi-retirement. What's happened to me, and so forth. And it's by far that's not the story or the truth, because my book's coming out too. There's I'm actually things are blowing up now again, and I'm busier than ever. However, it had been a slow process. So now listen to what I just said. Now, even though this is not about menopause, I felt like a man on pause. Okay, my sense of self was, I recognized with, oh, I don't have as many followers or likes. It's a lot harder to basically get engagement. To shit, maybe I'm just not hip anymore. Fuck, influencers are now bigger than people like me, and they deliver subpar material. Shit, well, listen to my judgments there. Mm-hmm. I'm recognizing that these are potential thoughts I have. They're there, because otherwise I wouldn't have spoken about them. But I recognize that, wow, I have a belief I'm not enough due to, say, the social media response. I'm not feeling enough because it's not how it used to be for me. So, but that's not a truth. The truth is something more like this. So, truth would be more like this. This is a process I go through. This is something similar in my book. It would be something like this. If I was feeling good anyway, how would I feel about these things? If I was living my fullest life and being authentic, really the things I like to do, right, would I be paying attention to social media and people who don't know me? Another one, how much have I been really doing the things that I enjoy? Just those three questions led to this. Oh my God, for the last 2 years, I have been trying to get my son settled in. This is a strange culture, and it's not as easy to make friends. I have not been living my highest excitement, so I am being more triggered, and I'm paying attention to these things because in my own physical world right now, I'm not doing all these things I want to do. And so I'm not being authentically me. Why am I not being authentically me? Listen how I'm doing that. Oh, because I have to do this or that. Excuses or stories. Because I have to wait for this moment or put my happiness on a layaway plan for this. Then when it happens, I recognize I become my own bullshit detector and go, because we all know this. If we quiet our mind just in a sauna for an hour, we come out of there and going, I don't have no problems. Even if you like left home after an argument. Why does that happen? Because the mind gets quiet. And that's why people meditate also. But the mind gets quiet, and you recognize, oh, when I'm stressed, when my nervous system is overstimulated, I connect to realities and I project onto the world, social media, people, or even a health issue as why it is I'm not happy now. And therefore, I hold myself away from that which I prefer. What would I prefer? More ease, connection, love, and joy. What can I do right now to experience that? I can take a walk. I can literally smell the roses in my garden. I could do a little self-care. When I just lay with my husband or partner, I can allow my body to feel loved because he keeps telling me that even if I can't orgasm, I have to remember that I'm not letting him down, and that just by connecting to what is can feel good. It's just recognizing that we don't need to go out. We just need to get quiet and go within. Have my needs been taken care of by myself? Have I quieted my mind? And that's a process you can go through.
Beautiful. That is so beautiful. Just being present, breathing into the moment, quieting the mind, right? And you had shown in your biography too that Qigong is some of the practices in meditation. You mentioned yoga. Are these some of the practices that you do yourself and you encourage your clients?
Meditation, qigong, dancing, whatever your permission slip is to feel better. So I have a different relationship with the idea of like what a person needs to feel better, and it's not that complicated. So, if we want to connect directly to God or source, whether you're looking at a crucifix and your consciousness creates the experience that you feel safe, confident, and that your needs are taken care of, you'll feel that oneness and no separation. Therefore, you feel like you have no problems. You might take a couple hits of weed, you go get a massage for 90 minutes, you let your body go. You're not even you're physically there, but you leave your body, you enjoy it, and you come out of there and you feel, I'm kind of talking about myself, you feel invigorated. I used to do that. I used to eat edibles right before a massage, and oh my God, I'd go to heaven. Whew. It was just like,
Yeah.
But that would be it. I mean, I had more fun doing that rather than a therapy session. It might be just putting on some music and dancing around. And just, I noticed that with more feminine people, being stiff in a meditative position might feel too masculine or contrived. So I'm like, well, then don't. Like, move around, work in a garden. But when you work in a garden, maybe being more intentional. So if thoughts come up, pull out your journal and write in it. I mean, there's many vehicles to experience God or source. So it's just whatever you somehow resonate more towards, use that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm drawn to the movement. I like to do primal flow yoga, and it's from the Buddhi movement medicine franchise. And it's about the marriage of the yin and the yang, and the feminine, the masculine, the Ida Pingala. And we really tap into the feminine side, which is flowy and nurturing. And then the grounding hatha yoga poses to build up the fire. So when you tap into both, you find that balance. But there's one part in that practice, and it can be like a 30-minute or an hour and a half practice. We call it the release, where like an animal, after you've done those hard holds and you're just building up the sweat and there's this fire building up in you, and you feel really tapped into who you are, we release it and we just start to shake and pound and drum. And when I teach this particular class, the smiles on the faces of my participants, men and women, it's a thing of magic. And then I always invite them to say, we've just tapped into who we are, in essence, who we are as an energetic body. And I want you to embrace that feeling and allow yourself to feel vulnerable and release and have fun with it and not hold on. But I still find that there's a part of us that still needs to claw back and not quite allow ourselves to just dump on the yoga mat, if you will, or dump on the sauna. And what I'm trying to get to now is the two things that you talk about, because I'm really quite curious about them. And you may have already talked about the neuro-linguistic programming that you talk about, where we have to reframe our talk. But talk about some EMDR and how that allows us to really get back into some of that trauma and reprogram ourselves. Do you do that quite often with your clients?
I rarely use traditional EMDR.
Okay.
Particularly because I see most clients via Zoom. So doing this,
yeah.
okay. But I kind of have them tap their hands to do that, because that's effective also. So there's on their laps, so they could do it also. When it comes to EMDR, I would say like the Western perspective on it. I know her last name's Shapiro, who created EMDR. They're a little bit more linear. They're more, I would say, 3D, kind of more scientific. I know there's much more going on. So as someone who kind of embodies, or, like I teach Eastern philosophy and modalities, I can see at least the mechanism in play. And it's this: when you're activating the left and right hemisphere, you're activating the yin and yang. Okay? Number two, listen to how this ties into the yoga you teach. When you give a person a 1 to 10 scale, you're putting them in a masculine to gauge where they are, as whether 10 they're still charged, 1 they're not. But this process, looking at the eyes and breathing and connecting to your body, is a feminine experience. You have both the masculine and the feminine working together.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
When you get to, are you finally done with this and how you want to feel, you're giving a person a map, but also you still kind of bullshit detect it, because if they're saying I still have a 4 that's leaning more towards the negativity in the body, it hasn't been released. So you go from the beginning into the ending, where it's, even if a practitioner doesn't finish with you, you'll get there on the next session. But it's a process of where you try to give the problem, whether in your body, a name or a label. You connect to the energy of it with your emotions in the feminine. You allow your brain to integrate and with awareness that experience. And the conclusion is where you're no longer charged. And that's it. EMDR is probably the most effective technique for, I would say, trauma. Or if you're going to see a actual licensed therapist, you find if you have been perpetrated or something, I'm not sure. Like when you just do talk therapy alone, I don't see a lot of change. I'm all about somatic experience. So EMDR is one of those modalities where it's a somatic experience. And a lot of psychotherapists, psychologists facilitate it. So that's how it works.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm all about feeling into the body and just, what is it telling us? It's like you said, the pause is an opportunity to really connect and go inward. Stop living in the superficial outside world, because that's not who we are.
Yeah, integration is really important, because you brought that up too a little bit. And so, it's, implicated, like it has to be implemented, like it has to be executed also. Like some people think the work is done in spirit. It's in spirit we remember who we are. It's in spirit we're able to take pause and breathe and relax ourselves, to also recognize that God has our back and that we live in an abundant universe. However, because we're in physical reality, literally we're in physical reality too, which is connected to spirit, that we have to take action in a direction that we prefer. Otherwise, it's not fully crystallized in the body. So integration and action is utterly important for anyone to change.
Oh, so good. So good. We can unpack so much more. but I really, really want you to speak about your book. What inspired you? I'm quite curious to find out how long it took you to write this book, because it sounds to me like it was just an outpouring of all of these, well, your journey, your pain, your passion, your journey. So let's speak about this book. All it takes is one, and share with us the journey and writing it. What did you discover about yourself too?
Thank you for asking. So the book itself, I started in June of last year, so it didn't take me a long time. Yeah.
Wow. I knew that. Somehow I knew it was a quick one for you.
Yeah. So I had written two others prior to that, a shorter one and then one that never was published. And but what took a long time was this. So I'm transparent with everything I do. So I worked with Dr. Netherton, who worked with Stanislav Grof and Fritz Perls and Carl Rogers. Like, we're talking about the renegades and I would say the psychotherapeutic realm of like the 60s, who were like, oh no, here's a quicker way to do it. This is how you break through stuff. So I learned from him. So a lot of even though it's not 100% original, the way I'm delivering, the way that I do this process hasn't really been taught in the way I do it. So it'd be equivalent to Byron Katie, the work, or even Carl Jung, his specific modality. So imagine the book itself it's almost like where I'm providing a new modality, a new technique. That's what made it hard. I can talk about spirituality. I can talk about a lot of things really easy, but think about this. If you work as a coach, you work intuitively for the most part, and a lot of your what you learn is you've pulled from different parts of your life, and including teachers. Then how do you put this in one book? What happens if you write too much, and what happens if you write too little? And how do you write this in a way that the lay person can understand it? And so I took all these kind of very out there concepts, which Dr. Netherton never taught me, or his process took 2 hours. Mine does not take that long at all. And I looked at what really made the breakthroughs, what made it quickly, and what made it stick. And I took that to create a really simple process that where people, the readers, when they read it, they'll be skeptical, but they'll see how it works. They'll see the mechanism of consciousness and how you break through stuff. So what took me longer was to finally arrive to the moment of, okay, I'm okay with this. This is good enough. I know that this book, reading these words, might be just still an introduction to a lot of people. My first healing book was You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. I got that book and still didn't use it properly. I didn't hire a coach. And I think even in my book, it's so funny, I've forgotten what I've written. I think I maybe said that if I just stuck with that one book, maybe it was an article I wrote, that maybe that's the only book I would ever needed. So I didn't have the guidance. So with my book, there is a link to where you could go to get extra tools, but the book is going to connect to a coaching container so people can come on my group calls to see laser coaching in real time and also choose whether or not this is for them. So I wanted to figure out a way to hold people's hands after they read a book, because just like myself, I read the book, put it down, I'll get to it later on, or I would, mark the pages to get back to exercises. I would never get to it. I was in a rush. So this book is kind of a one where it breaks down why you've come to be the way you are, why you believe these things. And this is how you break it apart with examples. And it actually has exercises to get to it. But there's a good chance people are going to need extra support, and I know it. So I had to surrender that and go, you know what? I'm going to write the book the best I can. It's only 168 pages, so also very concise. But the last part of the book, the last chapter, leads into my second book that's kind of in the same series. So imagine this is the groundwork. This is how you live your life now with the groundwork. And then this is how you take the groundwork into community.
Yes. Yeah. A gradual process. It's just like going through any kind of schooling. Enter the door and start doing the groundwork. And well, as they say, when the student is ready, the teacher will come. And I think that your book is just going to be that for so many. I'm so happy that I can promote it this book, this blueprint, if you will, full with practical tools and techniques. You got to put in the work, though, readers or listeners that are hearing this. But I'm quite excited. I'm going to get myself a copy of it. Let's tell our listeners where they can find you, Dr. Ray, and where they can get the book, which will be available as of April 17th, correct?
Yes, and we planned on uploading this afterwards. So you'll have the link provided below wherever this conversations go, and it'll go right to where to get the book. And I know that there'll be an e-book version of it also, so you probably can get it for like under a couple of dollars as well. There also will be an Audible version, but that's not going to happen for another 4 to 6 months. And we're doing that purposely as a marketing strategy just to, once again, promote the book again. And not just that, I'm exhausted from all the work I've been doing in the back end. So just want to take a little break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we have busy lives and we like to plug in the earbuds and listen to those audiobooks. But I know you and I come from, we're 1969 babies here. So we come from the generation where the textiles is still, you know, feeling the pages in your hand are so
Yeah.
good. You just ink
Well,
it all over.
The Audible, I listen to those a lot as a parent. I'm a full-time parent, and also when I'm at the gym. But I always will, if I really like what I'm listening to, I'll buy the book, and then I'll highlight that part. I'll go back to it again.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, you got the sticky notes all over the place. Yeah. I think this is just going to be one of those books. I am so excited. I'm just blown away with your journey, Dr. Ray. Thank you so much for giving us of your time. And I'm just elated to share this with the listeners, in particular my husband. I've said that twice now, so he's listening. He's going to catch on. What's you trying to tell me here? And you know what? This has been so fun, but I feel like we've just kind of like your book, ground level, we're scraping the surface. There's so much more. I would love to have you come back if you're willing. Talk about the success of your second book.
Well, hopefully, you'll get questions, comments, even criticism. I don't care, and we can use that as source material to respond to. It's one thing for me to talk about the things I know, but what excites me more is seeing this in action to help people. Literally to see it, because it's one thing to get good at yoga, but true yoga is when a kind of asshole neighbor gets in your face and you still experience God within because you did your yoga that morning.
Exactly. Yoga. Yeah.
Yoga
The
for life.
asanas is asanas is just something to do on the mat. The yoga happens when you leave the mat. It's so true. And we have to keep reminding ourselves of that every day. Just take a deep breath, breathe out.
Yeah. It's like, even I still see it. Like, I'm a coach. I took almost 10 years off. I was in hibernation, raising my son on my own. And so people I actually coached were putting their books out, and let's say in like that 3D reality, doing better than me. And I had to watch those things, and I was okay with it. And some were even still being coached by me while they're making it. And they're like, Dr. Ray, you should this, you should that. But they weren't aware that I was raising a child on my own, and I was enjoying that. And that was a priority. But this is when you get really good at listening to yourself, meaning your positive self. It goes something like this. I look and see this person doing what we might call better. And when I feel myself projecting, I always stop again and go, how did my day begin? Was I having a good day? If I was enjoying myself right now, would I be even having these thoughts? The answer is no. No. I went, okay, all right, well, then I'm going to go do something fun. Done. And it's not sweeping something under a rug. Actually, it's pulling the rug up and going, oh, this dust or the crud or whatever here was there already. And how I started my day is what kind of, I guess, validated that. Therefore, I'm going to clean it out now. Thank you, 3D reality, for telling me that I had my own shit here in the morning. I'm good now.
Beautiful. So true. Reveal to us what's always been there, but we have not been properly dealing with. Got to spring clean the house, right? Yeah. So we can have peace of mind and move forward to the radiant, authentic individuals we're always meant to be. Thank you for closing with that little reminder. Dr. Ray, this has been delightful. I look forward to having you back. We'll promote everything in the show notes for sure. And I'm going to watch for it and just keep sharing those beautiful gems, that roadmap to beautiful, peaceful life.
Thank you very much.
Real, raw, and relatable, just as I promised in all my episodes. And this conversation delivers. It was so inspiring and informative. And Dr. Ray and I unraveled all the layers of the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual whole person that we are and are meant to be as we transition through midlife. So whether you're male or female, there is something in Dr. Ray's backstory that we can all relate to. Dr. Ray traced his personal journey through the brushes with mortality, battles with self-value, encounters with love, and the transition into middle age. And along the way, he contemplates the weight of societal norms. Yeah, charts his own evolution and explores spirituality while navigating the intricate path of healing from past wounds. But within its layers, this is a story that hits on the essence of self-love, which is self-acceptance, a significant and necessary part of our personal transformation. And I love how Dr. Ray touches on the delicate intricacies of human connections, as well as the quest to find one's true authenticity amidst life's challenges. And let's face it, the midlife transition is such a challenge. All of this and more is explored in Dr. Ray's book that just hit the stands this week, April 17th. It's called All It Takes Is One. And this is the book to break through those barriers. With 3 decades of expertise, Dr. Ray guides you to unearth and transform life-limiting beliefs so you can expect profound insights and real change. So to get a copy of your book, get it now. I have the link in the show notes. And if you are looking to take an even deeper dive and deeper quest into self-mastery, well, go ahead and visit Dr. Ray's offerings online on his website at raydoktor.com. That's doctor with a K. And you can find Dr. Ray on Instagram at Dr. Ray Doktor Coaching. Thank you for tuning in to another insightful episode of All Things Menopausal. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to stay connected, be sure to follow me on Instagram for daily tips and updates. You can find me at m_l_coaching. For even more support and community, join our Facebook group, Personal and Universal, where we share experiences, advice, and empower each other through the transformative journey. And if you found value in today's episode, please consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. Your feedback helps reach more women who can benefit from these conversations. Okay, my lovelies, until next time, stay empowered, stay informed, and embrace the beauty of your menopausal journey. Remember, midlife should be the best life, and it will be. Namaste.